And this is where we're going to add something that I've never really added to my gardens before, simply because it's really the only thing I can think of that might possibly work. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? I hope everybody out there is having a wonderful day. I got a little bit of a problem. It's a problem that I created because I didn't know what I was doing. But I think I got a solution to the problem, but the solution is gonna involve putting something in my garden that I've never really put in my gardens before. So we're gonna try to solve this problem in this video today, and then after we hopefully solve that problem, we're gonna take a look at our raised beds over there, give you guys a little update of what's going on in those and what's to come as fall rolls around. So here's our problem. We got an entire row of turmeric here, but we've also got lots and lots of weeds in here. And that grass and those weeds are gonna rob a lot of nutrients from this turmeric here. So we need to figure out some way to suppress that. Also got to figure out a way to get some water to this turmeric and maybe a little fertilizer to it as well. So you may recall several weeks ago, maybe it was an entire month ago, I showed you how this turmeric was finally emerging here. We planted this way back in the winter, put the little pieces of turmeric in the ground thinking, okay, once it warms up, these things are going to sprout. They never sprouted, kind of gave up on them, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we started getting some rain and they sprouted. What I've learned is that turmeric doesn't like to sprout until about midsummer, so no point in really looking for it until then. So as I had given up on this turmeric, I had let this spot right here grow up with grass. Look just like that right there. And I'd just mow it every time I cut my grass, until one day I went to run over this with a mower and I noticed some tiny little turmeric shoots popping up through the ground and said, whoa, we may have something here. And so real quickly I went from being down and out about my turmeric failure to being optimistic, but also knowing we got to figure out some way to control this grass a little bit so this turmeric can actually grow. Now I couldn't fix the problem immediately because I had to wait on this turmeric to grow up a little bit so I could distinguish the turmeric from the grass, so I could actually see the turmeric plants, because the grass had gotten pretty tall. But once it got tall enough, what I was able to do is come in here with a lawnmower and just scalp it down, mow it as close as I could there, and then I took the tiller and just tilled one lane on this side of the row, one lane on that side of the row, just to kind of try and suppress all those weeds and grass a little bit. And most of this grass here has gone to seed, which tells me it really isn't going to get much taller, but the turmeric will get a good bit taller. So at least we got that working for us. But if we look right here, you can see how that leaf is curled up like that. It shouldn't look like that. It should be flattened out if this plant had plenty of water. I'm thinking a lot of these weeds and grass here is robbing a lot of the water, and that's why they're curled up and they look stressed like that. So we got three issues here. We got weeds, we got water, and we got fertility. Pretty sure we can solve all three of them. Let's start out with the water. So we do have a drip system set up on this big plot right here. Right now it's feeding those few cargo pumpkin plants that survived the transplanting process. It was feeding that glass gem corn there. So we have a system here we can hook into, hopefully run it all the way down there and maybe keep that turmeric happy. Now I've got this manifold here set up a certain way because I knew I was going to have something different here than this corn right here. Whatever was right here wasn't going to be near as hungry as the corn there, and whenever the corn got done, I might still need to be watering something over here. So the way we have this set up is we got a T right here, and then right on each side of that T we've got a valve. So we can turn on this side of the drip system, water those few pumpkin plants, or we can turn on this side of the drip system, water that corn or whatever else is down this way. Now I did have a piece of main line connected right here on this side of the T that was watering all that corn. Problem is that main line wasn't long enough to stretch all the way down there to where that turmeric is. So I need to get a piece of main line that will stretch down there. Now I could have added to the piece of main line that was down there with a coupling, but I didn't want to water this corn anymore. We're waiting on it to dry out. So what I did was I took up the piece of main line that was there and unhooked it from all those row starts on the corn. We'll pull up that tape later. And what we're going to do today is put down another piece of main line. It won't be connected to those corn rows, but it will stretch all the way down there to the end to feed that turmeric. So I've got a little 50-foot roll of main line here that I bought at Lowe's the other day just to hold me over until my next drip depot order gets in. So we're going to take one end of this, hook it up right here, and then when we get ready to water, all we got to do is flip this valve here and water will start running through that tube. So then all we had to do was run this piece of main line all the way down here to where our turmeric is. I cut it off there because that's all I need. Hold it down with a brick here. We use our little figure 8 clamp to terminate this so no water comes out of this end. And now we have a supply line which we can hook into with drip lines and hopefully keep this turmeric nice and happy. So with my main line ran out here now, I could put a line of drip tape on either side of this turmeric row to feed it and hopefully keep it happy. But since I've got plenty of main line to work with here, I think what I'll do is actually run 2 drip tape lines. I think I'll put one on one side of the row, one on the other side of the row, and that should keep it even more nice and happy. Now at the moment I can't find my nail that I usually use to kind of stake down this tape and pull it out, so I'm going to do it a little bit differently this time. I'm going to cut it right there so it's not so close to that end emitter, and we're just going to go ahead and hook it into the main line, and hopefully that'll keep it anchored tight enough for us to pull it along the row. So we got our row start installed there. I'm going to put this as close to this turmeric row as I can get it here. Punch a hole in there, pop that in there, and now we'll just pull this out along the row. So now we got a drip line on each side of our turmeric row. It gets a little squirrely down there at the end, but we're about to fix that. So our water's already running on this side of the tee over here, feeding those few pumpkin plants. We'll turn our valve on here, and now we'll start feeding our turmeric. And now we can see those lines are inflated. Just need to go down the end and kind of pull them straight and tied up against this row. So that solves the water issue. Now let's focus on the fertility. And there's obviously lots of different ways we could fertilize these, whether it be granular or liquid fertilizer. But I think the easiest thing for us to do right now is going to be just to put some of this Nature Safe 855 down there in that soil as close to those plants as we can, and then take our little 3-prong cultivator here and scratch it in a little bit. So I added that fertilizer, put it on both sides of the row, gave it a little extra there because I know that grass and those weeds are going to rob a little bit from those turmeric plants. So we got the water issue solved. We hopefully got the fertility issue solved. Now for the hard part, all the grass and all those weeds. And this is where we're going to add something that I've never really added to my gardens before, simply because it's really the only thing I can think of that might possibly work. And so here it is. I got 10 bags of mulch. I went to Lowe's, just got the cheapest thing they had. So we got some red mulch here. Around these parts, we don't really have free wood chip delivery like they do in some cities. So this was my best option for what I think is going to work the best. Now pine straw was another thought that crossed my mind. We certainly have access to plenty of pine straw around here. The problem with pine straw was going to be kind of getting it between these plants here. And I think with that mulch, we can get it close to the plants right now, and as this turmeric gets taller and taller, taller than the weeds, then we can kind of rake it between these plants. So the reason I've never really wanted to use wood chips in my garden was because of my row spacing. Our plots are always being turned over, our row spacing is always changing, and I don't really want to rake wood chips out of the way to plant something on a different row spacing than was there previously. In this case, this row is on the very end of a plot. It's not going to be in the way of anything, and we might just end up keeping wood chips here, keeping some kind of mulch here, and just keeping this as our turmeric spot long term. So I've got 10 bags here. Didn't know if that was going to be enough, but figured it'd be a good starting point. So let's put this down on both sides of this turmeric row, and then we'll see what it looks like. right, all right, all right. Look who came to join us there, scavenging some corn scraps that fell on the ground. And we didn't have enough red mulch to make it all the way to the end there, but we got pretty close. I think a few more bags might do me. Now, there ain't no need to call Southern Living Magazine about this, but I think it looks okay, and I think it's gonna work okay. Now, I know that some of this grass and weeds is gonna grow through that stuff, and I'm gonna have to keep kind of layering this as that turmeric grows. The turmeric should outgrow the weeds and grass. As long as I come in here and keep layering mulch, may come in here with some pine straw. If the turmeric gets up tall enough, we'll just have to play it by ear, but that there is definitely gonna help for the time being. So good to get that situation back under control somewhat. Yeah, we are investing a little bit in the turmeric there, buying the mulch, but there's a lot of turmeric there, and turmeric's pretty valuable. It's pretty expensive at the grocery store. So if we can get that whole row of turmeric to produce like our little raised bed did last year, then it'll be well worth it. And now, as promised, for a little raised bed tour here. Only got 6 of these things, but we try to keep them with something in them at all times. This one has had the same stuff in it for a while now, so this one's got a bunch of thyme, just kind of keep spreading. And we got some garlic chives in the back there. I think those should probably start growing, doing a little bit better when things cool off a little bit. I haven't been the best about watering these, but I'm getting better about making sure they get watered at least every other day. Here we've got our horseradish plant, also got a volunteer turmeric plant there. You see the leaves on that plant, how they're nice and big, flattened out like that. That's what ours over there should look like, but they're stressed. Hopefully we can get them to look like this pretty soon. Not really sure when to harvest our horseradish here. Plant looks pretty healthy. I haven't really dug around there yet. And from what I understand, you just reach down there and get you a little bit at a time. You really don't pull the whole thing up. So maybe once it gets cooler, we'll get us some raw oysters. We'll harvest some of this horseradish here to go with our oysters. Then we got these snapdragons that have been here a long, long time. They've kind of quit blooming a little bit as it's been hot, but the plants are still looking pretty green and healthy. We'll just have to see if they start back blooming again once it cools off a little bit. If they don't, we may just pull them and plant something else here. Then on this front row here, we've got a bed full of herbs right here, some sage, some tarragon, some oregano in there. All that still looking pretty good. Seems to do pretty good in this kind of halfway shaded spot. We got this bed right here that had some dill and cilantro in it. That has bit the dust. There's nothing in it now. We've just been kind of keeping it watered, trying to keep the soil alive a little bit. Do have some plans for this in the next few weeks. Got some special onions Cajun Bee gave me, might plant in here along with some bunching onions. And then lastly, we have this little ring here devoted to some extra hot peppers. So I had 3 plants in here. The one up front here is a ghost pepper plant. You can see some of those fruits right there. Took forever for this plant to start producing, but it's really starting to load up now. And wait on them puppies to turn red. And I don't know what we're going to do with them, but we're going to figure out something to do with them. Then these back 2 plants here are from seeds a viewer sent us. This is a pepper variety called Armageddon. And I don't know exactly how hot these are supposed to be, but if the name is any indication, it's going to be a scorcher. I think these may be hotter than the ghost peppers. If we can get a little closer here, we can see what one of them looks like right there. Man, when those things turn red, they're going to look nasty, nasty hot. So that's the extent of our raised bed gardening right now, but I hope that's going to change in the near future. I told y'all a while back that I did have plans, or I was wanting to take one of our 30 by 35 plots in the dream garden and just fill it up with raised beds, different sizes, different shapes. And I'm coming close to having that figured out. I don't know if we'll be able to pull it off before fall planting or not, if it'll be something that we have ready for next spring. I'm hoping we have it ready for fall, just not sure yet, but stay tuned. I'll keep you updated when I do have some final details on that. So if you're excited about seeing us add a little more raised bed gardening into the mix, definitely let me know about that in the comments below. Also, let me know what you think about my solution to the turmeric problem. You think that was a good plan? You think it's going to work pretty well? Or you think those weeds will be back in just a few weeks and you'll have a mess all over again? If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to check out our affiliate links below. A lot of great companies that we use in our gardens here at Lazy Dog Farm. Even got some coupon codes for some of those companies so you can take advantage of those discounts. Don't forget to go check out our website, lazydogfarm.com. Been adding some new blogs to there in the last couple weeks with our fall planting schedule and some other stuff, so make sure you go check that out. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification button, like and share, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.
Oh, farewell. By the beauty of your life,